What's the matter, Kakarot?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another Sunday morning with the Blurred Church of Anime. I am your preacher, your teacher, your pastor, whatever you want to call me, cult leader. I'm fine with that. I am Black Star here to regale you with another story of anime and hopefully an inspiring message to get you through your week. I am joined by my ever faithful familiar. Say hi, Ollie. Yeah, he doesn't like cameras. He just wants you to see his butt, which is par from the course. Can't do a thing without your pets being around, which is something I love. I did not grow up with pets. I have two cats, and boy, if someone had told middle school me what a change it would be to have animals that kind of like you, kind of love you, love you, but maybe not always like you around you all the time, especially after a pandemic and isolation, that kind of stuff. I just didn't see it. But now, as a pet owner, I would bet the farm. I would sell, get a new mortgage or whatever the people who have like real wealth do to help support their animals when they are sick. So, yeah, you'll see him around more. I have stopped locking the door to keep him out because I don't know. I feel like I get more likes on the video when he shows up. But she's adorable. Ollie's adorable. I can understand that. Also, my cats make my week half the time. When I am in a funky mood or when I feel like I don't want to do anything, they come by, they'll bother me, they make me play with them, they'll sit with me, they'll just lay on me, they'll purr, and I'll be like, you know what? Life is okay. This is not a bad way to spend an evening, an afternoon, what so have you, when I'm able to be home. So I shouts out to them for being constant things in my life that keep my week being good. And I hope you had a good week too. I hope you had a fantastic week. I hope things worked out for you. I hope you were able to show love to other people and get love in return. I hope you're able to make some small decisions, and if you needed to, a big decision that you are happy with. And if that did not happen for you this week and it wasn't a great week, in fact, we say it was downright terrible, you know what? F last week. We believe that this coming week will be better for you. You'll get the things that you want. You'll do the things that you need. You'll do the things that you want. And you know what? Life gets better. I have to keep telling myself that life gets better, even when there's train wrecks coming all over the place. So, yes, even when there's train wrecks. Speaking of train wrecks, we got to talk about the anime that kind of gave me an inkling that I might need to quit my job, my last job. I love telling people that. It's like, there was an anime that was the first time that made me start thinking, I think I might need to quit my job. Because it spoke so much truth to me about what was going on in my life. Ugh. I don't, yeah. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. The anime I am talking about is Zom 100, or the Bucket List of the Dead, or depending on how people like to call it, it could be the bucket list before I turn into a zombie, or 100 things I want to do before I come becoming a zombie, whatever. Zom 100 is the main one. It was huge when it came out in 2023, so only a couple of years ago. There is no season 2 right now, which is devastating for big fans of it because it is a fun anime. I will say it is beautiful. It is, oh, if you can see like the character design. I'll put some pictures up here. Like, it is such a beautifully animated show. It is hilarious. It is very heartwarming. Um, and like I said, it kind of made me start having an inkling that maybe where I am in my life right now isn't what I want to be, and I might have to make some different choices. So you might be thinking, how did I even get to that? I Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the lessons we can learn from Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead. All right, so Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead. Our main character is Akira. He graduated from college, was a former rugby player. Watch out, shout out to rugby players out there. Like where I live, rugby has like a really thriving culture. I always love seeing male, female, all gender rugby teams. They're a lot of fun. But anyway, so he's a former college rugby player, and he does what you're supposed to do after, especially if you're doing Japanese. You go to college, he gets a good job. You know, man gets a job. Unfortunately, is what Japanese people like to call at a black company. Listen, but really, what they mean is they're at a company that is known for being abusive, a company that doesn't treat their employees well. And he's been working at this job for about 2 or 3 years and feeling all of his life, all of his youth being sucked out of him. He is stressed. He's working long hours. He is doing so much to, and again, it's like kind of as an athlete, as someone who's like a go-getter. He's doing all he can to like go get this job while being harassed and talked down on and being overworked. He is getting sick. He has lost any semblance of a social life. Like this guy's like 24, 25, like no social life because all he does is work. He's around his coworkers, his bosses, all these people. That's it. And then one day he wakes up and he is dreading going to work. Like he's like, but he's like, you gotta get the paycheck. I think some people out here who be adulting know what I'm talking about. Like, doesn't mean you always at your job, but some days you just wake up and be like, oh, this place again. And you think, can I not go? What would be the consequences of me not going? Even school, people with some signs to school. I know there's some kids and teenagers out there would be like, I don't want to go to school. In general, growing up, loved school. So if there was a reason I didn't want to go, if I was consistently missing a class or I was dreading, like my parents knew that something big had happened. Like either I was having issues with, typically it was teachers, not even other students, that I just didn't like know how to navigate, or yeah, it was very rarely I didn't go to school because some kids were bullying me or there was other kid issues. Like I knew I had to deal with my own peers. Normally it was adults that maybe don't want to go to school in situations of that. But anyway, so you're getting that. He's like, is there a way I can get out of this? And he's like, no, let me drag myself to work. Unbeknownst to him, a zombie apocalypse has happened. And as he realized that his apartment building is now swarming with zombies trying to eat him. I'm laughing so hard just thinking about this episode. He's like, oh shoot, I don't have to go to work. Which, fair, huge apocalypse happening, natural disaster. I don't think I have to go to work. Although there are some people, especially my people in the service industry, my Waffle House employees, like I know y'all know that even in a national emergency, even in a weather event, y'all still going to work, and I think y'all would be at work even during a zombie apocalypse. Like I appreciate y'all, I appreciate your service, but yeah, that's how you're in a black company, not bad company, not black. I don't want to. I'm not using the phrase black company anymore. It makes me. I don't like it. Okay, anyway, so that's how you're at a abusive company. Let's say that. A boo boo. We don't have a boo boo company. So yeah, so he's like, I don't have to go to work anymore. And so, or I don't have to go to work today. Like you don't think he says anymore. He's like, I gotta go to work today. So he gets a much needed reprieve. He spends the day in his apartment, barricaded. Enjoy. I feel like it's the first day of quarantine, or like maybe the first week or first month for some people. It's just like it's nice. I get to be home again. Some people, I know not all, because there are some worse jobs. And then he's like, man, I need beer. Like, how am I supposed to have a day home alone and watching videos and stuff without some beer? Let me just head over to the convenience store real quick. And my dude is parkouring, using all the body things he learned from being a rugby player to get his supplies and go back. He meets another survivor along the way. We'll talk about her in a second. But ultimately, he's like, nah, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna spend my day here. And then he starts getting curious about how the rest of the world is, and like particularly like helping out people he cared about and trying to do all this stuff. But again, the funniest part of him being like, I ain't gotta go to work and I'm gonna take the day alone and sleep. Like that is for some adults like the true meaning of divineness is, oh, Disaster, I don't have to leave my house and I can sleep all day. Bet. Anyway, but along the way, he starts thinking about like now that he no longer has to go to work, now that there's a big apocalypse happening in Japan, zombies are coming at him. He's seen the terrifying nature after going out of how people are turned into zombies, what they do to you. And I think at some point he's like, I eventually, if I keep living in this world, whatever, I'm eventually gonna get turned into a zombie. Like that is, you're gonna die or turn into a zombie. And most times you're gonna die and still turn into a zombie. Whatever. It can be synonymous depending on your semantics. But he's like, I lost 2 to 3 years of my life working for this company, and just my head in the grind about this thing. What are some things I want to do before I turn into a zombie? Before I get got, right? And he makes the list, his bucket list, 100 things he wants to do before he gets turned into a zombie. Now, is there a full 100 things? No. He keeps adding to the list as we go on, which I think is amazing. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, too. But I love it. He's like, okay, the inevitable is going to happen, but I want to live life until I get to the inevitable, which I think is a really cool play on a bucket list rather than someone's like getting old and facing their mortality, or someone having like a incurable, uncurable, what's the word? Once it's one of the diseases it's not cured, like the cancers or stage 4 or whatever, and people are like, I need to start living life. He's like, okay, I gotta start living apocalypse. My body is still good, but eventually I'm gonna get got. And he doesn't do this journey alone because part of his goal is to reconnect with friends, which means finding if any of his friends are still available or unzombified, and he does. He does find a friend. And then you end up having this plucky group of 4 people who are all trying to live their best life before they get turned into zombies. Akira is the first one. You have the female protagonist, Shizuka, who is the more rational minded of the group. She is trained for zombie apocalypse, and I'm gonna tell you why I love her in a second. So stay with me. But she has a survivalist mindset without any of the optimism. Then we get Kinichiro. Kinchiro, also called Kincho for short. I'm gonna stick with Kincho. He's a friend of Akira's from I think college. They played rugby together. And then you have the random non-Japanese woman stuck in Japan, Beatrice. I love Beatrice as well. We don't get we don't get a lot about Beatrice quite yet. At least in the first season, but she's still super funny. She's still super funny. I like her. So anyway, those are the main 4. You watch the opening, you get it. First off, let me tell you, the opening for this anime is a banger. Song of the Dead. What's the name of the group that does the opening? Cannabone. It is Cannabone. Yes. All right. They're the people who sing Song of the Dead. It is a bop. I listen to it quite often. So again, why is this important? Why are we talking about this week? I love the idea, and I said this before, of a bucket list of living life before an inevitability thing happens. And for a lot of people, that inevitability is death. And I think when you're young, you don't think about death coming unless in an imminent problem, like maybe you had um a life or death situation where you face death, or a huge sickness, like I said, an incurable disease. And then some people decide that, well, I just want to do whatever and live life. And then some people don't wait until they get older and they're like, I spent my whole life married to this person, I couldn't do anything, or chained to my job and my kids don't want to talk to me. A lot of people have regrets when they get later in life. And I think what I really liked about this series is that Akira is 25 and he's like, I have already have regrets. Like I went from this carefree, loving, like social person to like letting this job, which was what society is telling me I need to have and do, which I think we all can feel that pressure, we live in a capitalist society. You need money. Money helps you be able to live. I mean, he's not making tons of money, but he has his pride in his work. But, giving to a company that never gave really back to him outside the paycheck, and realizing that he really didn't like his life. And I think some of us now, even maybe a couple months ago, a year ago, during the pandemic, learned that we didn't love our life, whether it was your job or the person you were coupled or partnered with, or being stuck with family, or just some of the decisions you make. I think there's always a point where you're like, I'm not happy here. And I would rather an apocalypse happen to just be like, to get out of the situation. So people feel like the world has got to end for them to get out of the situation. I remember I was like in seventh grade or eighth grade. I think it was in eighth grade. And I was having this terrible first, it was like a Monday. And it was like a Monday. And I was like having a terrible Monday. I was like, I do not want to come back to school the rest of this week. I like prayed. I was like, God, is there any way that like you could do something where I don't have to like make me sick? Make me sick so I don't have to come to school for the rest of the week. I think I had like interschool suspension over some bull. It was a whole thing. And you know what happened? You want to know what happened? There was a hurricane coming towards my town and we had to evacuate. So I went to school Monday, got put in ISS for the rest of the week. They called and left a message at home. I was like, I'm gonna get my butt tore up when I go home. My mom hears that I'm in ISS and I'm be there for the whole week. And I get home, no one's listening to any of the messages because it's back when you had an answer machine, no cell phones like that. Because we are now scrambling to pack up our stuff and evacuate because we have to be out by noon the next day. And I got the rest of the week off. Like, yes, emergency. And even better, the hurricane actually did not hit our town. It last minute winds and whatever currents moved it away. But I always think about that, like how I like prayed for a natural disaster. Well, not a natural, I just prayed for sickness. I prayed for something to keep me out of space where I just didn't want to be in. And it came true for me. And I think for some people, some just like, I just really don't want to do this thing. And you may not get a zombie apocalypse, which I think is extreme. But I think that framing device can help you realize like this is not the life I want to live. The fact that Akira was so happy to be outside running among zombies and for his life rather than being at work, I think tells you that that was not a place he needed to be in. I jokingly say like this job was the first inkling that I might need to quit my last job was because I the relief he felt, the smile on his face when he realized he didn't have to go to work, I was like, there are days I feel that. Like I remember I had the flu and I was so happy to have the flu. I didn't have to go into work. Like I had a legit reason. And sometimes like even when I was sick, I'd still go to work because it's really bad workaholic like vibes and just I don't know. It's you talk about therapists and therapy stuff about people who feel like they have to work not just for the money, but like to be productive in a member society. Like you work yourself to death, which I think is a real thing that happens in this country about not taking care of yourself, about using your body as a commodity to capitalism, which I don't love, and I'm actively trying to work against this in my own mind, in my own headspace, and support other people for doing that. Well, that's a whole other conversation. But like the idea that like something terrible could happen in the world and you feel a sense of relief because personally it means the terrible places you have to go, the terrible people you have to deal with, you don't have to deal with them anymore. And if you feel that way, you don't need to wait for a zombie apocalypse to get out of it. I know it feels really scary. Like, if I quit my job, what do I do? If I break up with this person, I'll live alone. I'll be lonely the rest of my life. Oh my gosh, how do I deal with it? And the truth is, you will deal with it. And you can build that bucket list of things you want to do before you go back to a relationship, before you go back to working this type of job, before you do a lot of different things. There is so much in the world. And I think this is what I really get from this anime. Each of the four people figuring out like what it, and then they're all young. They're all really young. And this thing falls into their lap, and then that's the inevitability, like the idea of death is gonna come for them or becoming a zombie. So what can I do in the meantime to live a pleasant life? And it doesn't have to be like world changing, like I'm gonna save everybody I can from the zombies. Like, okay, cool, put that on your list. But it could be also just like interests. I remember Kira has one, like he was a wine and dine a flight attendant. I mean, I mean, like, when is that going to happen? But it's a shelter device. Like, there's a lot of things he wanted to like, again, make up with his friends he hadn't talked to in like 3 or 4 years since college. Kensho wants to be a comedian, lead with comedy. They're miserable, and now because of the world getting shaken up the way it did, or at least Japan, they have an opportunity to kind of rewrite their story. And I think that is beautiful because I think we can all rewrite our stories, especially one of the characters I talked about who I really, 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 really love. And I said I was going to come back to her in a second. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Akira is standout. Like, main character. He's the heart of the show. But Shizuka, I think, shows us what it means to be bred for a certain type of life, and to tell yourself that this is what you're going to do. Because Shizuka has character, background, story, whatever, is someone who was always told she had to be perfect and be the best. She has a father who was like, she wanted to go another career, but her father's like, nah, you're gonna do this because this is what helps you survive. She's very practical. She made sense on a lot of things. She's a risk, not risk averse, but she's great at calculating risk and figuring out what she's to do. She has trained for zombie apocalypses, and which I also love because like people are like, well, how did she train for a zombie apocalypse? Like, did she know it was coming? I am somebody who believes the zombie apocalypse will happen. I am a person who watches every kind of zombie show. Play the only first person shooters I like are zombie shooting games. I have the books. I have How to Try. I read them all. I love zombie movies. So when I saw the anime, there was no way I wasn't gonna watch it. But I get all the tropes. I get all the things. I get all the ideas. Like, what do you do? I make plans for every city I've moved to. But if the zombie apocalypse happened, where do I go? Where can I maintain? Who should I take with me? And I let my friends in on the plans. I will be honest, some of my friends have been like, Blackstar, do not save me. I do not want to survive in the zombie apocalypse. I'm very happy to be zombified or killed so I don't have to live this hellscape. And I'm not, and in my head, as main character syndrome, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Survival is not an option? Because I'm going to fight tooth and nail. And they're like, that's not everybody's have that same instinct. And so I am now asking for permission from my friend groups who I should grab and where we're going to go and what the plan is. Learning, growth. Anyway, so of course I love that Shizuka is that character who has done everything to prepare. She has like you see her running, she's like very cut and dry mindset. But when she meets Akira and the group, it's the first time she realizes that survival doesn't mean just doing the bare minimum or only doing the things that keep you safe because they're willing to risk it to still live life. And she hasn't had a chance to live life. She's been living her life based on the observations and the demands of somebody else, her father. And so now she has a chance to be free and she has a chance to even think about what she wants to do and start her own bucket list. And I think that is so important because some of us have lived our lives based on what society tells us we should do, our family members, our partners, or whoever. And I mean, it doesn't mean that the people don't love you. They may be doing it for your best interest, or they're trying to keep you from wandering in the wilderness or making bad mistakes. But there's a part of life where you just have to decide what is it something that I want to do and who is it that I want to be because you can't live your life for other people all the time. Even if you're a parent, I'm not a parent, so take this with a grain of salt. But even if you are a parent and you are living your life to make sure your children have a better life, like especially single parents, I know a lot of people, mostly women, who, once they had kids, was like, okay, this is not about my life anymore. It's about my kid life, my kid's life. Like, I have to make sure I do all these things to make sure they're good, which is, being a parent. Like, this is a really important thing. These kids didn't ask to come into this world, but you brought them here anyway. You need to do, not the bare minimum, you need to do your best to make sure they're okay. But you also don't stop being a human being. You also don't stop being someone who has wants, needs, desires, as well as possibility. So maybe you get your kids to a good place and you find a way to balance have letting them live their lives as well as you living your life because that is still important. I really push people like your life, even if you're caring for other people, folk who caring for aging parents or family members or a loved one. Like, yes, keeping them safe, keeping them good is important, but also your life is important too. And you need to be able to say, I hit the things that I'm passionate about, or I'm able to check off things on whatever bucket list that you've created because that helps make a fulfilled life and you being fulfilled and you having options to pour back into you and like you wanting to be able to live and see the beauty in life thus helps you become a good better caretaker for other people. That is extremely important. Like you just can't live your life for other people always. There has to be a point where you have to put your foot down and say what is also best for me, what can I do to also make sure that I am getting my nourishment as well. And I think that is really really put in place in this show. Of course, things don't always work out for the best. They're still dealing with zombies, and people die and or get turned into zombies, and things can get gruesome. But there's this beautiful optimism in the entire show of wanting to still pursue the things that you care about, even in the danger. Beatrice, like I said before, is a very interesting character because she's German and kind of like a Japanophile. Like she happens to be in Japan during the apocalypse of zombies, and she wants to become, I think it was like a sushi chef or something of that nature. There is no traditional route to do this right now because zombie apocalypse. But because she loves Japan so much, because she made that trek out there and something unimaginable happened because she was already doing the thing she decided I was going to travel to Japan, I'm going to do this thing. And the zombie apocalypse could seem to be like very, what's the word, inconvenient for her because she had a plan to do the things that she loved, but she's still rolling with it. Like I think she's even more optimistic than even Akira, and that's saying a lot because she's rolling with it and she's not gonna let this inconvenience of zombies everywhere stop her from achieving her dream because she's already there. She's already in Japan. I might as well still become a sushi chef, right? Right. This the unbreakable confidence I Beatrice has is just beautiful to me. There's so much to say about this series and the idea that you don't have to wait until your life is getting close to the end or you have a near death experience or for everything to go to SHIT, sugar honey iced tea, um, to decide that you want to change pieces of your life. Again, I'm not telling you just go quit your job or get rid of your kids or anything. I'm not saying that. I am saying that there is a way that if you recognize there's some dark places in your heart, in your feelings, in your soul, that you feel unfulfilled, that there are things that are around you that drain you unnecessarily. Like, okay, kids gonna drain you, but like they're your kids. Deal with that. But there's certain people you don't have to stay with. There are people you don't have to have around or be around you. There are changes you can make to your life. And I mean, yes, we're all should have a bucket list. Like we shouldn't wait until we're 60, 70 if we ever make it that long. Think about the bucket list of things we should do before we die at 80, 90, 100 if you get to live that far. Because the apocalypse is coming, y'all. I don't know if it's going to be zombies, but something's happening, especially in America. But there should be a way for you to get through your day to day of things that you are of things you're collecting, whether it's happy moments, happy memories, a chance to do something new, or a chance to do things that you never thought you would do because you're too busy or you're too scared or society told you not to or somebody you love which is like I don't think that's a good idea for you. Like there's so many ways for people to tell you no that you have to be the one to tell yourself yes, even when it's a little bit dangerous. Because to be very honest, Akira could have just stayed in his apartment. Hold up. Shizuka was planning on doing that. She would go out, get the supplies she needs. She had a really decked out apartment that kept her secure for the moment. And then she'd only leave as she needed to with her backup plans on top of backup plans. But had they done that, they wouldn't have had the adventure or the chance to like get it to really live life. And it's so funny to say like people are living their best life in the zombie apocalypse, but it's true. I think Kira's big thing is like he hadn't seen his parents in 4 or 5 years since he left for college. And work made it so hard for him to visit. And now like that's a regret. That's a regret. Like, are my parents still okay after the zombie apocalypse? What's going on? How do I find this stuff out? And put it on his bucket list to go see if his parents are okay. It doesn't have to be something huge as like change your whole career or, date a millionaire once. Like, it doesn't have to be something like that. It could just really be like reconnect with a friend, check in on your parents or your grandparents, have a conversation with a new person, learn a skill. These things are all just as important on your bucket list as it is to become a millionaire if you so deem that you want to do that. To each your own. I am slightly judging your decisions, but also do you, fam. So I think as we go, if you haven't seen Zom 100, just watch it. It is fun. It is again gorgeous. I love a very beautifully animated show, especially one with interesting characters, great backstories, wonderful premise, some humor, and a lot of heart. Um, There's only one season, which is a travesty. Like, where is season two? There's enough of the manga. I need season two. Um, but it's on both Netflix and Crunchyroll, which is weird to me the first time to see, anime be on two different places. If you're catching on now, you don't have to do the 5 month wait that we had to do to get the last two or last three episodes because the production was a little weird there. But I generally love it. And it's a big story of hope to change your life, and maybe not completely change it, but just to go pursue things and remember, like in childhood and younger days, what was the dream? What were the things you enjoyed? Who were the people who meant something to you? And where are they now? Have you had a chance to meet them, to greet them, to reconnect? And like I took a weekend last weekend to really like reconnect with friends. I do this like once a year with them. We've done it a few times this year. But I think it's always important to have people that ground you, to have people that remind you of who the if you are when you don't remember. Sometimes I think it's also super important to be in spaces and places that remind you that you've done amazing things. And if you've never done anything amazing, if you felt like your life just been monotone after monotone, just following the path that other people have set for you, you can get off that path. You can. And maybe it doesn't mean like completely just leaving the path and disabling, but you might want to step off into the grass and wander, meander a little bit. Is it scary? Yes, because anytime Little Red Riding Hood got off path, that stuff was going to happen. But she got through it, and I think you can't be scared to sometimes step off the path and smell the flowers or pick them or just explore a little bit and then come back. Because one thing this capitalist society is always going to do, is going to always want you to get back on that path, on that conveyor belt that they're sending for you. If you get a chance to kind of step off for a minute and then you're like, I don't like this, I'd rather just be drone, then you can. I mean, it's not the Matrix where you can't get reinserted back in, which we don't know if the person couldn't get reinserted back in. If you die before, I feel like they will always want the bodies. So what are you gonna lose? Go do something different. Go be the person you want to be and see. That's a bold statement to make, but that's where I'm gonna end this for today. Um, Again, I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank y'all for being here. Write your bucket list. You gotta do it in a composition book too, because they always write the list in the composition. Do y'all remember those composition books? I know we're past the school sale where you get them things for like 49 cents. Like I was a teacher at a point in a time in my life. I lived in I bought composition books. If you want to wait until August, September to get one to write your dreams or whatever in them and I wouldn't fault you, but I think times is hard. Money ain't out there like it used to be. Wages are stagnant. But I think you can spend $1.09 probably wherever. I know Walmart. Ugh, don't get on Amazon. I'm really all sorry. Some of my political biases is leaking in. But wherever you would buy, go dollar store, get a composition book, and really start writing your checklist. Things you want to accomplish. Maybe it's before you die or turn into a zombie. Maybe it's in the next 10 years. Maybe it's in the next four. Maybe it's before the end of this year. I mean, I think this could have been a message I did for January, but I think we need it now. You shouldn't wait for some major event like the zombie apocalypse or New Year's to tell you to go ahead and change. You can make the plans now so that way you have the resolution ready if you need like a start date for it. Because we're only like 2 months, not even 2 months, we're like a month and a half out from New Year's, from 2026, and that feels wild, y'all, wild. But here I am rambling. Sorry, I was gonna end this story. So yeah, go get your composition book. Figure out what your bucket list is, your goals, and then if you need to, set up for those to be your resolutions for New Year's. Sounds simple, but the first thing you gotta do is think about it and write it down. And take this time. Take this time now before the holidays and everything gets screwed up. But that's all for me. Again, thank you for being here. I love you all, and I will talk to you next week. Bye. The Blurred Church of Anime podcast is produced by Black Star, aka Lauren Tillman, written by Lauren Tillman, and hosted by Lauren Tillman. Music created by EL47.